Overwatch has always been played with two teams of 6 players. Overwatch 2 will be played with two teams of 5 players.
What? Are you kidding me? That's probably the reaction that most of the members of the Overwatch community reacted when they heard that Overwatch 2 and the core PvP experience was going to 5v5. What's up, guys? Veteran Gamer here. And originally I was going to make like a recap video of like the things you needed to know from the Overwatch 2 PvP livestream. But then I started seeing videos from various content creators and people around the community saying whether or not 5v5 is good or bad. Some were saying it's good, some were saying bad. I know content creator Stylosa did a poll where 52% of the people said that it was better, 48% said it was worse. Let me tell you something. And this is kind of like a rant and me going on a tangent because nobody knows this answer. It is according to my knowledge, as I have a friend who is currently playtesting Overwatch 2, and in my conversations with this person made it clear that the playtesters currently only have access to the PvE portion and not the PvP. And that the PvP portion of Overwatch 2 is only accessible from the dev team. That means that everybody else doesn't know squat about how this is going to play out. Yes, everything that they showed during the live stream was on display. They talked about how the UI was supposed to be cleaner. They talked about how to spectate, especially for the Overwatch League, is going to be easier to follow. From a player standpoint, you will have a higher potential to solo carry. On top of that, from the developer standpoint, the game should be, in theory, easier to balance. But nobody, and I mean nobody, knows for sure whether or not this is good or bad because you haven't played it. Yes, I understand that there are concerns with things like game balance, obviously. But with a change such as this, as well as the additions of new heroes that we've only seen one thus far, the game balance was going to be out of whack at launch no matter what because we as a community don't know squat. Even if the game stayed 6v6, just the sheer introduction of new heroes, which my personal guess is going to be like 7 to 10, is going to throw the balance out of whack. So when people sit there and say, oh, well, what about the tanks and it's not going to be good and Widowmaker's going to run wild? Look, the game is a year plus away from release. Balance is going to be changed numerous times from now until it even comes out. As a matter of fact, the devs even said that the movement reduction that they gave to all characters that was in this build that they showed us was no longer in their current build that they were working on. And that whether or not it came back is still up in the air. So when it comes to balance, it's going to be everything's out of whack. Everything's out of proportion. Nobody knows squat about whether or not this is good. The only complaint that I've seen that is actually a valid complaint is with regards to the tank players in the pro scene. Obviously, with teams reducing the tanks down to 1 means that 50% of tank players are going to lose their jobs. And the only way that these tank players are going to be able to stay in the Overwatch League is to either flex to another role or just be that much better than the other tanks to get jobs. If they are unable to do this, these pro players are going to have to change games to another game to maintain their pro career. Now, that complaint, though, is only for the pro players and not the general community. With all of that being said, there's no other complaint that I've heard that is valid. The only thing that we know for sure for Overwatch 2 is that the game will be 5v5 and that each role will have its own passive, which they had displayed. But other than that, nobody knows. Not even me. I don't know. I haven't played it. How am I supposed to sit there and say that this is good or bad? We still need to see the new heroes. We have a new core game mode in Push, which, for most of the players is going to be like a whole new thing on top of it being on a new map. The existing maps are going to get tweaks and adjustments to cater to 5v5. So when I hear people sitting there saying, oh, this is bad or this is good, just stop. Just stop. You are spreading information with an uninformed opinion. And that's just honest. That's just like me being honest with everybody. When you sit there and say, if you're a content creator, you're an influencer, whatever that may be, and you're sitting there saying, oh, 5v5 is going to kill Overwatch, or 5v5 is going to be so good for Overwatch, how the bloody hell do you know? How? You haven't played it. You know, many tweaks are going to happen. Many changes are going to happen. So all I'm saying to all content creators, to anyone who's talking about Overwatch 2, do not say whether or not it's good or bad unless you've played it. Unless you have played the game in the current state with the current build, which probably means that you're a developer, you don't know. Right? You don't know. Now, personally speaking, I would love for Blizzard to, make an experimental card with these balance changes put in so that we, the community, can have a better insight. There is, however, an unofficial way that you as a community member can play 5v5. There is a workshop mode. The code will be in the description of this video. There is a workshop code where one of the creators who's known for making crazy workshop modes actually basically made Overwatch 5v5. They took the information that they had available to them, so things like Zarya having 2 bubbles, and put them into the game. So you can sample it in this regard. Just be mindful that this is not an official Blizzard patch or like experimental card, that this is a community-driven one. But it is based using the information that we have at our display. That current workshop mode will have things like Sigma and Orisa both disabled. Reason for that is because we haven't seen them in Overwatch 2, and presumably they are getting massive reworks. So the creator did not want to obviously put them in and give a false impression. So all they did was they basically took what we know, what was shown at the PVP live stream, and basically made their own experimental card, if you will, that has these changes. Now, again, it would just give you an idea of how it's going to work. The problem is the creator doesn't have the raw numbers. Like, was the damage for Soldier's gun adjusted? Was Pharah's gun adjusted? What was the tank damage? Obviously, the role passives, maybe also another thing. Like, they don't have all the numbers, so the balance may be out of whack. But it gives you an idea of what 5v5 could be like when we're playing it. Personally, I'm excited for what's to come. I'm excited for PvE. I'm looking forward to PvE. I have friends that we're all on board with PvE. But when it comes to the PvP, I'm actually going to go in with a very open mind. I'm not saying it's good or bad. The one thing I will say is based on the footage that they gave us at the live stream, that at the very least, from a spectator's point of view, 5v5 does look and feel like Overwatch though. But I got to play it to make that for sure. But it does look promising, and I can see why the devs would go this route. Keep in mind, obviously, one of the perks with 5v5 is, in theory, we can have shorter queue times across the board. But, they did talk about how there is potential that all these players that were maybe tank players may just go to DPS now that there's one tank. You never know, and obviously, being a new game, you might get an influx of new players that may throw things out of whack. But the purpose of this video is to just encourage people, go in with an open mind when it comes to PvP. We don't know for sure whether or not this is going to be good or bad for this game. We don't know. We just don't. Until we can get the official, Blizzard patch or the official release of this game, beta, alpha, whatever, just to get our hands on what this actually is, don't spread false information or false opinions or misinformed opinions about something that you haven't personally played yourself. At the end of the day, I'm personally looking forward to Overwatch 2 whenever Blizzard decides to release it. And in the meantime, I'll continue to play Overwatch 1. I'll keep my ear to the ground when it comes to Overwatch 2. And with that being said, I hope to see you guys next time. This is Veteran Gamer. Peace out.